Hello everyone and welcome back to Blocked for the fourth week. I have one of my good friends here, Miss Lily. Lily, say hello and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lily. I am a student at the University of Oregon. I'm 21, studying business, love fashion, all that good stuff.
Yeah, this episode we're going to be talking essentially about kind of like poor eating habits and just the things around that and just that mindset in general. And Lily is gracious enough to join us and talk about it. So, Lily, first off, would you want to kind of describe the poor eating habit situation, like kind of what it feels like for you and like how you would just view it in itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, it comes down to the relationship with food and that my emotional reaction to food and how that like affects how I eat personally. So, there are lots of stigmas around certain foods and how those foods will affect your body and its ability to function. And with that, it creates a lot of anxiety around just certain foods that I may be around often, or maybe it's just something that I find to be very tempting. Maybe it's a food I've had a negative experience with in the past, or associate with like certain weight gain or something. It's a lot of just negativity on oneself, and it's a lot of like internalized fat phobia that really needs to come to light that affects how I eat. And so it really just feels like a lot of fear around what could happen if I eat certain foods, and then that'll affect the quantity that I eat and the quality of food that I eat, which will then affect my everyday mood, and it's tied to the quality of life I have in general.
Yeah. Okay. So the biggest thing I'm hearing, it's a very like emotionally yes. Connected experience.
Very much. Yeah.
Okay.
It like starts as an emotional experience, which can tie to a more physical one, being like physical reactions to certain foods.
Right. Where it's like maybe you feel like nauseous, I would assume.
Yeah. Stuff like that, or like maybe I have a harder time digesting something. There's a lot of like stomach problems that can be associated with anxiety. So like a heightened anxious state can make it harder to digest food in general, stuff like that.
Okay, great. That's a really interesting way to like talk about it and view it essentially. And so kind of with that in mind, and like because it's something that's so emotional, going through an experience like that, not a specific one for the time being, but like how would you describe the way that it feels, I guess?
It feels so often. It feels very out of control. It feels like something. It's kind of something I've described to people as. It's a little scary in the sense of it almost seems like never ending. Like I genuinely I find it hard to view my life at a point where like I'm totally like normal when it comes to my relationship with food. Like I don't think I'll ever view it in like a particularly like healthy, normal sense. So it's kind of scary just like thinking about the fact that like it's no longer in my control at this point, and I just kind of have to learn how to live with it. And just that like I have to stay very aware that my journey is different from everyone else's, and this is just something that I have to deal with, and that it doesn't make it like shameful in any sense. So there's also that aspect that I kind of have to take a step back and be like, it may not be everyone's experience, but, I can power through it and I can make it work.
Yeah, that's real. I'm good for you. Proud of you.
Thanks.
But kind of like with that in mind, I know like sometimes with these sort of like mental blocks, essentially, it's hard to pull yourself out of it. And like, because that's like I've said this before on this podcast, I'm not here to like give you a recipe for tea and like make your life better by like meditating and BS. That's not the point. Because sometimes that's not how it works. So
not the solution.
No, because everything's easy to solve. But how are some ways that you have found to kind of like endure, but also not let this like completely take over your life? Like, what are some things that you've been doing that help you through situations like this, like when you start feeling this like negative attitude?
Yeah. A lot of it is kind of, it takes a lot of like, one, self-awareness to realize that I'm kind of in this negative, like, part of the cycle, because it really does come in waves. There are some times where I'm doing great, I'm not worried about it, I'm on a really regular routine, but sometimes are just worse than others, just depending on, you know, where I'm at and taking care of myself.
Right.
So it kind of takes that, like, initial recognition to be like, oh, okay, I'm in this part of, like, those phases that I go through. And then from there, it's really about realizing, like, if there's a trigger kind of surrounding it. Different examples could be, like, stress in school. There's different times where, like, my body image may be fluctuating. I could be stressed about, you know, something at work, or, like, there may just be some emotional situation going on that's causing, you know... Causing
you stress, anxiety.
Anxieties, yes. And that will kind of emphasize the stress around food. And just in general, you know, a heightened anxious state can, like, cause that, like, nausea that we were talking about. And so then that will make me not want to eat either. And then often I'll get caught in, like, a phase of, you know, once you, like, stop eating for a second, food sounds really gross, and everything about food just seems like I don't want to eat it. So taking those little baby steps and just getting something in my system is really important. Just finding something that I can actually, like, swallow without wanting to gag is really important. So, like, easily prepared foods, I have...
Yeah, like, is there, like, a comfort snack or something that you usually migrate towards when you can't eat?
For me, unfortunately, it is chocolate. Although I shouldn't say unfortunately, because there's no bad foods, but it is hard just because, you know, I love chocolate so much, and it is such a, like, it's such a big comfort, but it does have that, like, oh, it's bad for me type thing, you know?
Yeah, so there's, like, a negative contribution.
So I really like quinoa is a really good one, because it's super easy.
Oh.
Yeah, quinoa is super easy, and it's super nutritious, and it's super filling. And it helps with digestion, so if you're, like, an IBS girly like myself, it's got all those good fibers in there, so it tends to help with that.
That's great.
And like I said, it's super easy, and it goes with, like, literally anything, like just tofu and quinoa has been good. For me, going vegetarian was really helpful. For whatever reason, it, like, helped me focus on my nutrition a little bit more, because I knew that I couldn't just resort to meat and be, like, done. Just because a lot of people, they go, like, oh, you know, I had chicken, that's my meal. I had to be a little bit more, like, thorough and thoughtful when it came to where my nutrients was coming from.
Yeah.
So it made me care more about what I was putting in my body. Although, like, my vegetarianness was more, like, from out of convenience and just because my body just could not do meat anymore. So that was helpful for me. Yeah, those were some good ones.
That's great. Well, yeah, I know I fall victim to that too sometimes, where I'm like, oh, well, if I'm eating meat, like, it's fine, I'm healthy, but I forget to include other things in my diet. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm improving.
Yeah, it's just so easy to slip the butt.
I just can't help it. I'm a carnivore at heart. I love me a good hamburger, like, but if you feel comfortable, would you like to share maybe, like, one of the more difficult experiences, like one of the times where maybe it just you had a more difficult time getting yourself back to normality in the sense?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely, like, times where it's just pretty long periods of time of, like, restriction, I guess. So I guess things I can't think of, like, the worst time. There are just times where I know that it's getting bad when I'm, like, either getting lightheaded more often, or I have a harder time, like, having an appetite for food. Like, food just doesn't sound good no matter what it really is. Or the only thing that sounds good is, like, horrible junk food that will literally make my guts, like, tear themselves out.
Right.
Or, yeah, just things that I'm like, no, maybe that's not the best decision, or, like, or, like, the food that I did make that initially sounded really good, I, like, take a bite and I'm, like, gagging. So when it kind of gets to that point, that I really have to be like, okay, we're at a problem. What do we do? You know?
How do we solve it? How do we get through it?
I don't really have like a specific example, unfortunately, just because it's genuinely just been so long that like.
Hey, that's okay. That's totally okay. You don't need to give me a specific an example at all. But I've just found it, like, especially talking with other people, like, about the other topics on the podcast, people usually have, like, one specific experience where they kind of remember, like, oh, like, this is a great example of, like, me going through XYZ.
Yeah. For me, it's mainly just, like, once I'm, like, trying to eat my food and I really just cannot get it down my esophagus, I go, okay, we're at a low point. And it's happened a couple different times, and it kind of comes back because, you know, it's such a cyclical thing. And the thing that sucks is it's such a, like, self-fueling thing. Like, the less I eat, the more nauseous I feel, which means the less I want to eat. So it's just, like, this whole horrible cycle. So it's just, like, it's kind of just, like, a pendulum that you go back and forth from constantly.
I will say I've dealt with that before, only because, especially as a kid, and even now sometimes, I get really bad, like, migraines. I get super bad migraines to the point where I can't walk, I literally cannot talk, and if I eat or drink anything, I get so nauseous. But because I'm like that, I don't eat because I feel ill. And then because I don't eat, I'm making myself feel worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I understand that because I get those nasty little migraines.
It's similar to that. Like, genuinely, it's that, like, oh no, and then you're like, frick, what do I do? Like,
it's like, I can't fix it.
Literally no solution here.
No, because it's like, if I try and eat, like, I'm probably gonna, like, be sick, and then if I don't eat, I'm gonna get sicker, so it's like, dang.
Yeah, and you're just like, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I feel like definitely one of those things where it's just, you gotta go through the motions.
Yeah, that's just, like, those little baby steps of just, like, something, like, even if it's a little bit of chocolate, fine.
Like, if it's in my body.
Another thing is, like, self-medicating. It's helpful.
Like, what do you mean by self-medicating? Like weed? Smoking?
Marijuana.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that...
appetite up can be helpful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was about to say, I'm like, a case of the munchies is, like, everybody's best friend when they need to eat, like, eat. And eat a lot.
Yeah. No, if it's, like, that little hump you need to, like, get over to be able to eat consistently, you just gotta do it.
Yeah, honestly. But, well, I think that is it, honestly. That was so helpful, and I loved being able to talk to you about it. I very much appreciate it.
Of course.
So, do you have any, like, last notes you want to add before we close out?
That it's more important to eat something than nothing at all, and that it also doesn't matter, and that it's okay to sometimes eat foods that maybe scare you.
Yeah. I would completely agree.
Yes, and that everyone is beautiful.
Good.
Unless you're a bad person, then be a better person than you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta venture on the inside to spread it to the outside.
Yeah, it's real important.
Well, thank you so much, Lily, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Hello, welcome to Blocked. I am here with one of my best friends, Abby. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Abby James. I don't really know what else to say. I've known Morgan since freshman year of high school, and I'm here with her on Blocked.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're talking about essentially poor eating habits. And so, Abby, how would you describe a poor eating habit? Like, if you could almost give it, like, a definition.
Gosh, I mean, not giving yourself enough nutrients, for one, not having a balanced diet, or eating enough food in general, or, eating constantly eating unhealthy foods, and that, I think, would be poor eating habits as well. Not eating enough, not eating at the right times, not eating enough of the good stuff. That's probably a solid definition.
Yeah, and I know when I was talking with Lily, she said it was also very emotionally connected for her as well. So is there emotional connection for you in like relation to food? And if so, like what does it feel like?
Oh, definitely. I think that, I struggled with an eating disorder when we were in high school. I feel like I kept it under wraps decently well, but I definitely struggled with an ED because of my own self-body image. I struggled. I had a trying relationship with food because I wanted to be pretty and skinny, and I never thought that I was skinny enough or good enough, and so I would just starve myself because I figured that was the best option. It almost is like, and even to this day, even though I've kind of like recovered in a sense where I'm not, intentionally starving myself, I still to this day feel that food is more of a reward than it is something I need to keep my body going. So there's definitely an emotional connection to it in the sense that, like, I feel like I don't deserve it sometimes, and other times, it's just because of my own personal self-image, and I think that ties in with your emotions a lot, so.
Yeah, like, do you have, like, an example of, like, maybe one of the worst, examples of this going on? If you don't want to say the worst one, because that might not be fun for you to think about, but if you have, like, another good example of just a similar experience, what do you think would be the most notable one that you can kind of think of?
I think this kind of ties more in with, like, ED versus, like, actual, like, eating habits itself, but, hey, it still kind of fits the bill a little bit. When I was, about 15 or so, I would be at the dinner table with my parents, and I'd sit and I'd eat dinner, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower, and I'd run upstairs, and I'd turn the shower on, and I'd go, like, puke my dinner up in the toilet. So I didn't have to, like, keep it on my stomach. Because I didn't want, as much as I loved the taste of food and liked food, I was terrified that eating food was gonna make me gain weight. So I would do that a lot. Another example of poor eating habits, and something that I'm guilty of now to this day, is not eating a lot during the day. I think that also kind of ties in with my ADHD. I do kind of forget to eat, to be honest.
I do too.
And because we just get so busy with school and everything, and you have so much schoolwork to do, and so many things going on, that, like, I dead ass forget to eat until my stomach starts screaming at me, and I'm like, okay, shit, sorry, I will go get you food. But binging is another bad example of it as well. Like, I'll forget to eat during the day, and then because I haven't eaten all day, I'll eat, like, 3 times what I should, or, like, double what I should, like, late at night, and that's not healthy either. So yeah, those are some examples. As far as all of that goes, I'm sure I have some worse ones deep inside my head, but that would take some thinking.
Yeah, so. We don't need those, because they're probably deep in there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you speaking on just, like, forgetting to eat, I know I fall victim to that quite often, and or I'll be, like, doing homework or just doing something else that I've deemed more important, and I'm like, okay, no, I'm so hungry, but I need to do this, and this first, and then I'll go make myself something to eat.
And that's the crazy thing, what you said is thinking that it's more important. And that's what's so crazy, because what's more important than nourishing ourselves and taking care of ourselves at the end of the day? That should be what's most important to us. And all of it, and honestly, call me whatever you want, but I think that a lot of it ties into society as well, and what society, American society specifically, has done, whether that be because of body image, because of social media for women specifically, and men too, but because we're both women, I'll say women specifically. You know, body image, stuff like that, having to look a certain way, otherwise, you know, we're not deemed like valuable or attractive. And then also with the grind culture in America, it's like, no, I have to be going, like you said, this homework is more important than me eating this food.
Yeah.
Which is so whack.
Yeah, and it's certainly not healthy. And I don't know how you react to not eating, like, for long periods of time, but I know for me, if I don't eat at least, like, 2 meals a day, or if I forget and I haven't, like, eaten anything all day, but I've had, like, I don't know, like, a nice chai tea latte, and maybe I had some chips, but if I, like, do not eat a good meal, I get the most aggressive migraines in my life, and it's so debilitating, because then I quite literally can't eat anything, because I'm so nauseous, and I have a, like, belligerent headache, and then I have to, like, go, you know, go to the bathroom because I feel nauseous, but there's nothing to, like, exit my body because I haven't eaten anything, so I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like, I mean, sadly, my body has gotten used to it because I've gotten into a bit of a habit of not eating a lot in the first part of the day. It also has to do with my sleeping habits. I'm such a night owl that I will go to sleep at like 5 in the morning, and then I'll sleep till like 1 in the afternoon, and then I'll wake up and I'll be awake till 5 in the morning the next day. And I can't break the cycle because I sleep so much during the day that I can't fall asleep on time at night. And then if I wake up at any proper time in the morning, I get like 2 hours of sleep, and I can't even bring myself to wake up because I don't have enough, you know, energy.
And you're so tired
in the first place. And so then I don't eat until like 6 p.m. And I can feel it in my stomach. I can feel my stomach talking to me. I get shaky. I get the migraine, same as you. I get nauseous. Yeah, so no, definitely. There's definitely effects to it, but
yeah, none of them are good.
No, and the thing that's hard about it is that it's hard to break that cycle too.
Yeah.
Like it's not a matter of not wanting to break it. It's just that you get such like into a fixed routine that it is really bad habits die hard.
Yeah.
You know, sadly.
I will say, like, I know for me, it's gotten, and I'm sure you can agree, it's gotten a lot better since high school. I can absolutely say high school was so much worse. Like,
high school was a beast.
It was terrible. Like if I just, like, didn't feel like eating, or I didn't want to, like, eat the food that was there, I would, like, have french fries. Sometimes I wouldn't even have that. I'd have, like, ice cream, and it's like, high school, Morgan, what are you doing?
And you and I were together at lunch, like, the majority of high school. You and I had lunch together, like, basically all of the time.
Every day.
And literally, like, we would go and get in line, and we both saw it in each other. We'd just go grab, like, a thing of gummy bears for lunch, or, like, a cup of fruit, or, I mean, occasionally, yeah, don't get me wrong, we'd get, like, one of the, like, good Caesar salads that we had. And if it was chicken strip days, bro.
Heck yeah.
We always got the chicken strips and fries, but, like...
Other days we were like,
We're like, you know, just some french fries, just some gummy bears. A Gatorade will work for lunch today. Like,
you know, it was terrible. And then on top of that, we also were running on, like, 4 Dutch Bros Rebels at the time as well.
I was gonna say, on top of that, you and I would go get large, like Rebels from Dutch Bros, and that would be our breakfast. So nothing. Crippling
fucking Dutch Bros addiction.
Or, like, literally just, you know, a shit ton of caffeine. That'll work for breakfast today. And then, you know, just a basket of fries at lunch. Or, like, you know, a couple fries at lunch. Perfect. And then we'd eat dinner at night, of course, because our parents cooked for us. But I mean, like...
No, but I know for me, too, like, I had cheer practice, like, after school, usually. Or, like theater rehearsal.
Things that we need to eat for, and things to need to keep us going. And we're like, you know, these gummy bears are going to do great. Like,
I was like, I would be in practice, like, I had the shakes, and I was like, I don't feel good. And I was like, gee, I wonder why.
Especially the way that Coach fucking ordered us around, and you're like, literally, like, you need to eat for stuff like that. That was, like, a monster to tackle.
Ooh, yeah. But we have gotten better. I know I'm starting to learn how to cook.
Nice.
And I enjoy it.
Well, especially now that you have the the apartment that you live in, I'm sure.
Yeah, the one thing, this is gonna sound so bad when I say this, but I promise it is creating good habits. I have HelloFresh, okay? And I don't buy groceries except things like for breakfast, like eggs and tortillas and cheese. Like that's the only thing I've really got in my fridge. I don't have that stuff solely because I don't want to if I'm getting the HelloFresh, I want to force myself to cook myself a meal and take that time to take a break. So that way I'm like taking like at least like basically an hour break to like cook and eat, so I get to chill out and enjoy a freshly cooked meal instead of eating something like simple like, oh, I'm just gonna make a quick quesadilla.
Right, or even like, you know, having like frozen foods, like especially being in college. So that's another thing with eating habits, especially people our age too. And with the economy, again, society, the economy is so fucked that we can't afford anything.
No.
Let alone the fact that we are college students and broke as fuck anyway.
Bro, eggs are $6 here. What the fuck?
Like, y'all cannot expect me to be able to afford groceries every single fucking week, especially if they're supposed to be good groceries. Y'all expect me to afford produce and eggs?
Oh my god, meat? Meat.
When literally, like, we are out of eggs at the Walmart down the street from my house half the time.
It's ridiculous.
But, what?
It's ridiculous.
And with produce and everything, like, we're constantly out of produce, but you know what there's tons of? There's tons of all the processed foods, all of the snacks, all of the
ramen, potato chips, mozzarella sticks.
And all the stuff that's incredibly processed and unhealthy for us, but you know, there's always tons of it. And so that's another thing with eating habits is that, like, it's so, we can't even afford groceries.
And I think a lot of it, too, is solely based off of the idea of, like, convenience, which is why it was easy, like, in high school for us to just grab, like, chips or fries because it's something you can hold and just eat, like, really quick because there's not that much of it. It's not, like, a whole thing where if you're getting, like, a salad or you're getting a burger, you need to sit down and actually, like, eat it.
Yeah, and even today, I will say, even nowadays, like, I love me some good finger foods. Like,
oh, yeah.
I
Tiny
love,
tacos?
like, sitting and eating, like, cheese and crackers and prosciutto, or, like, chicken nuggets, or taquitos, or pot stickers, something that's, like, finger food that I can kind of, like, pick at, instead of, like, a big-ass, like, burrito or burger or something like that, because it really is, like, more convenient. You're right.
Because it takes time out of your day, which is why people don't like it.
Because we feel like there's not enough time in the day as is. And that's, like, I guess in some way that's sort of going off topic, talking about, like, society and economy so much, but it really does tie into why there's so many issues with eating habits and stuff like that. Why do you think people eat fast food so much? Because it's quick, it's convenient.
Yeah, and
sitting down and actually being able to cook yourself a meal, especially at 20, where we're still very used to, we're just barely at adulthood. Like, we are babies when it comes to being adults.
I can barely afford adulthood. What?
Exactly. And so taking the time out and cooking and having to, and especially somebody who struggles with, like, mental health issues, you know, I'm privy to that myself, depression, anxiety, ADHD, stuff like that. It's sometimes, like, you don't even have the energy to put in the effort to take all the pots and pans out, put everything together, cook the meal,
wash the dishes,
like, wash everything. To do that every single day, like, I know that's, like, you know, normal, but for people who struggle with doing everyday tasks, like,
it's a lot harder.
It really is difficult to, like, have to do that every day. And I understand that we'd, of course, be way better off for it. But, I mean, it really is difficult. And, you know, I tried HelloFresh for a bit last semester, too.
Oh, yeah.
It was too expensive with the amount of money that I make at work, which, again, ties back into
society, economy.
But, I mean, I'm in Arkansas, and I know you know that, but I'll state that for, you know, the recording, that I make $11 an hour. Thankfully, I just got a raise, so now I make $12.50. But even then, it's
not
really,
that much.
It's not a lot, especially being from California. Like, I get paid every 2 weeks, and like by like Monday of the week that I get paid, I'm at $0.00 in my bank account.
Yeah.
I literally cannot afford to live 2 weeks at a time.
No, because it's so expensive, and everything is so expensive, and especially with like inflation and just everything going on right now in itself. But like, yeah, California, our minimum wage is $16 an hour.
Yeah, 16 an hour in Cali. And I understand that, yes, like, obviously, like, you know, the cost of living is different. You know, everything's a bit cheaper here than it is in Cali. So apparently it's supposed to be, you know, balanced out. But even with the minimum wage in California at 16 an hour, with how expensive everything is there, they're probably in the same boat that I am here in Arkansas, where we're still not making enough to live because everything is so damn expensive.
Yeah. And that's true. And I will say, though, like, back on what you said in regards to, like, having time out of your day to, like, make food as well. Like, I struggle with that because HelloFresh, like, the limit is, like, you can only get, like, a meal for 2 people. You can't get one meal just for 1 person. So I have a lot of leftovers, so that's the only thing that really doesn't stress me out too much. Like, if I had to cook a meal every single day, I would probably go insane because I get so stressed out sometimes when I have like a lot to do and I'm like, oh shit, like I need to go cook, but I need to finish my homework. Otherwise I'm not gonna get that done. But I need to eat. And it's this weird confliction because I don't allow myself to have convenience foods, like things I can pop in the microwave, it forces me to go do that. But cooking is now also very therapeutic for me. So it is helpful, but it does stress me out sometimes.
And see, to touch on the whole therapeutic thing of cooking on top of that, you know, I think for me also, again, back to like mental health issues or at least things like that, is that I've always been a person that like puts everything else like before my own self.
Yeah, same.
Especially like other people and stuff. And so like I don't like taking time out of my day to cook for myself because I feel like it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Which I think that's like a major thing there is, especially like it's a tie-in with everything. I mean, like eating habits or just anything, like it's just prioritizing yourself. That's like the solution to everything, is prioritizing yourself completely. That is the solution. It's just getting into the habit of that after not doing it for so long. It ties into the stuff we were saying earlier. But what I was gonna say is I love cooking for other people. If I have to make a fat meal for my friends, I'm down. I love cooking. I don't mind setting everything up, cleaning everything. I don't mind.
The dinner parties we do, that's so much fun.
Yeah, no, the dinner parties that we do back home for sure. I love just being in the kitchen and helping out and doing what we can, and all, you know, we'll have a glass of wine and we're all just sitting around and hanging out, whatever, all cooking. Amazing. But cooking for myself really does feel like a waste of my time.
It feels like a chore, which is so fucked up.
It does. It shouldn't. It sucks because I love cooking and baking and anything like that. I mean, we all know how much, like, we actually do, you and I do enjoy cooking and baking, but it really does feel like a chore when we have to do it for ourselves, which is sad. Again, prioritizing ourselves is the solution, but don't know how to do that. Yeah.
What are some, like, little ways that you've been trying to prioritize yourself, like, recently? Like,
for one...
in the form of, like, eating habits, obviously, but...
Right. You know, sticking to topic. For one, I mean, it's very, on and off. Like, I'll be good. Like, I'll have, like, quote unquote, like, well, at least better eating habits for, like, a good week and a half or so. Like, I'll go grocery shopping for, like, you know, once on a blue moon, when I can afford it and when I actually consider, like, you know, okay, might as well. I'll go grocery shopping once in a blue moon, and it's that time that I have that grocery, like, in my apartment, I have decent eating habits. But the minute that that's gone, I'm back to, like, eating, you know, random stuff. But, for example, I will kind of, like, meal prep for breakfasts. I'll use a muffin tin, and I'll grab a thing of, like, the little Pillsbury Doughboy biscuits. And I'll spray them with like Pam or whatever, and I'll stick them in there, and I'll crack like an egg and mix it up and put some like bacon in there and some cheese and like close up like the biscuit around it, and I'll pop those in there, and then I will like freeze the majority of them, or like I'll just keep them for the week. I'll make like, you know, like seven of them, or I'll make like 14 of them and make like a double batch, and I'll eat like 2 in the morning. So I can just grab them as I'm like heading out the door for school. I can just grab them from the fridge, heat them up really fast, and then like head out the door. So meal prepping, honestly, as sad as it sounds, because, you know, the first like glance you get at meal prep is like all like the gym bros, or, oh, you know,
no, yeah,
and your proteins, like, you know, like it sounds so like you, but like not meal prepping in that sense. But I really do think prepping things like that, or finding things that you like that you can prep, really does help with eating habits, because then it does kind of take the inconvenience out of the way of having to put everything together and clean everything. All you have to do is, you know, heat it up in the air fryer or the oven or the microwave, and you have a meal ready.
Yeah, and like, so, I feel like you saying that, it is definitely, it brings convenience to like a healthier way to eat. Like, obviously it's not something you just made in that moment, but it's still something that's going to nourish you, because it's food. It's like got the good stuff that it needs in there.
Real food, real nourishment. It's not something. It's not some like frozen like dinner, or like something that you got from the frozen aisle.
Those little like egg sausage sliders that you get at like Safeway.
Yeah, exactly. And I can even lie. I'll even buy those. And
no, those aren't bad, to be honest.
Yeah,
those are kind of good.
I'll buy those, and I'll pop those in the microwave, and I'll like eat it on my way to school in the morning. Like, that definitely. Honestly, the best thing I can do for myself, which again, that's a struggle because affording, but the best thing I can do for myself is having groceries in my home, and like you said, not allowing to have convenience items around.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much convenience items, which I mean, like, yes, they are, but more so like having like and not even saying healthy, because eating healthy 100% of the time is disastrous. But having balanced food options around you.
And even the thing I'm doing, it's made my eating habits better, because I'm not like a big like vegetable eater, but I've been eating so many other things, and I'm really enjoying it. And because I'm not relying on those convenience foods I can like pop in the microwave or like an air fryer, my body feels a lot better.
Oh, I'm sure it feels a lot more like nourished.
Oh yeah.
You're getting the majority of your balanced food groups. You're getting
the whole like, food pyramid
into your body. That makes total sense. And like I said, I tried HelloFresh for a little bit. Sadly, it just got too expensive, and I found the meals were coming so often for me personally that like it would stack up in my fridge, and then dealing with the mental health as well, actually having to prep everything, like prepare everything, like it would just end up going bad in my fridge, and I was wasting all that money.
Right.
So I canceled it. And I think if I went back on meds, like big pharma medications, psychiatric medications for my mental health, for my ADHD and my depression, anxiety, that I would be able to get a better like put together for myself, if that makes sense.
But you also don't want to rely on those.
No, but with especially with how bad mine is, I really should be taking those medications. I think, like, you know, I take Prozac in the mornings, I Prex at night. That's what I should be taking. And when I was taking it steadily for the first semester senior year of high school, I actually was like really good with my grades. I remember. Happier. I was more stable, and I think that if I was more mentally stable, that I would probably be able to cook myself food and not have it seem like such like a hassle.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties in with it all. I really do think that my mental health, and then just like, I think the two biggest things that tie in with my eating habits are mental health and body image. I think those are the two main reasons as to why I have poor eating habits.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can relate to the body image thing a little bit. I did dance. That body dysmorphia crippled my existence. God damn.
Oh yeah.
Kind of fucked up. It's okay. That's not for today.
It is. It sucks. It really does suck. And I mean, especially when, like, you open TikTok and you see so many girls with, like, similar body types that, like, look like, you know, the ideal, like, you know, what is, like, society's, like, ideal, like, image of someone's body. Or, like, you know, celebrities all the time with how, like, skinny they are. And, like, the fact that that's perceived as, like, what's normal and what we should look like. When in reality, being 30 years old and, like, 112 pounds is really not
no.
healthy. Or even, like, 115 pounds. Like, being, like, 27 and 115 pounds, like, that, I really don't think that's what we should be idolizing.
No, and not at all, especially not for women, because honestly, we have our periods and we burn so many calories during our period, and so when we're not eating, like, we feel like garbage because we need to give back to the nutrients that we are, like, losing, because we're going through it.
That really is a thing too, that, like, I think something that would, we were talking about, you know, like, something that's good, and I think reminding ourselves, or at least for me personally, reminding myself that, and it takes a long while, like, saying it and then actually believing it and, like, actively doing something about it are always very two different things, of course. But I think that reminding yourself that food is not a reward, but is something that your body literally needs.
To survive.
That it's something that is literally needed. And especially for women, like, our bodies have the ability to give birth to it, and we make humans. We are literally gods, bro. We make humans.
Literally, though. Like, jokes aside, for real.
We form humans in our uteruses and give birth to full-blown babies.
People who grow up and think and speak.
Grown humans. Like, they turn into grown humans. If we need to nourish ourselves because of the fact that we literally make humans. Like, of course we need to nourish our bodies. Our bodies are, like, gifts, and not to, you know, our body's a temple. Fuck that. I don't believe that. I hate people that are like, my body's a temple. Like, okay, so, really, I don't get tattoos, I don't get piercings, I don't have sex with people because my body's a temple. Dude, you're just boring. If you're just boring, say that. But, like, I really do think our bodies are gifts, and they're amazing things, and that we really do need to treat them like they are. We need to treat them better than we do.
Treat your body with respect.
Because it does so much for you.
Oh, yeah.
And having people recognize how much their body really does fight for them, learning more about, like, your body and recognizing how much it really does do for you gives some sort of appreciation to something that you haven't really understood before. And I think having an understanding of that really does help you want to nourish yourself and treat yourself better.
I would agree. And I think that's such a beautiful way to look at that.
Yeah, and again, like I said, saying it and actively believing it and you know, doing something about it are always going to be two different things. But the more that I can learn and understand about that whole thing, like, makes me appreciate my body more. It makes me want to try to take care of myself more, even if I'm not 100% of the way there. As long as you are at least trying to work on it, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that is a beautiful way to close this conversation with your magnificent words of wisdom.
And I think that being said, we should probably grab some lunch.
Yeah, no, actually, I was like, while you're talking and we were talking about food, I was like, I'm actually, like, hungry.
Yeah, I was like, you know, we should probably go grab some food, you know?
Yeah, I made enchiladas earlier, so I'm gonna go eat the shit out of those.
sadly, as we were just talking, I don't have any groceries in this house.
No,
I
Abby!
don't know what I'm gonna eat.
Eat one of your little meal prep egg sandwiches.
I don't have any of those right now, sadly.
Darn, you ate them all.
Yeah, no, that was a couple weeks ago, but
That's okay. I know you'll find something to eat.
I think I do have some eggs and bacon in there, though. I might at least make some eggs and bacon.
That sounds like, hey, that's nutritious.
Yes, it's the protein and the eggs. And
Yeah!
bacon. It's all protein.
Well, thank you, Abby, for joining us today on Blocked. I appreciate it.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yep. Well, we're going to take a week break from Blocked because I'm going on spring break and I'm not recording this on break. So, love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye!